Judge, what Miss Gonzalez did to Miss Turner, to Frank Turner, to David Turner, is horrendous. Good morning, Miss Turner. Miss Turner, I want to start out by asking you, where do you live?
In Broad Necks, Virginia.
And how long have you lived there?
Probably now about 20 years.
Okay. And back in July, the specific day, let's see, was, I'm sure you can tell me the specific day, but let's
The
see,
19th.
July 19th of 2022. Were you in San Antonio, Texas?
Yes,
Well, why were you in San Antonio?
to celebrate our niece's 16th birthday.
And who all came with you to San Antonio?
My husband, Frank, Beva, and myself.
Okay.
All right, and if you'll just speak into the microphone, then she'll be able to hear. All right, state.
And so you said your husband, Frank, and your niece, David Turner.
Yes,
Do you recall on July 19th, 2022, when you were assaulted, and we're going to get to that, but how long had you been in San Antonio before that day?
we arrived on Sunday, so we've been here. This was our third day.
Okay, so only your third day in San Antonio.
Yes.
And so do you remember that day well?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So let's talk about that day. What had you done that morning?
We had gotten on the bus to take a tour of the city. We stayed on the bus for two complete tours, and I needed to go to the restroom.
Okay, so at some point you got off the tour bus,
Yes,
and did you go to River Center Mall?
yes,
And did Frank and David go with you as well?
yes. We were all together.
Okay, and which restroom did you go to?
We went to the lower level because it was the first one I saw, and at my age, I can't tarry very long.
And Ms. Turner, how old are you
I'm 76 now.
Okay.
I'm 75 family.
at the time? Okay,
Yes.
so once you, do you recall when you went to the restroom, were there other people using the restroom at the time?
No, there was no one in there except me.
At what point did you see the defendant come into the restroom?
I was washing my hands at the sink.
And when you first saw her, what did she do?
She barely glanced at me. I smiled, but no words were spoken.
So no words between you or her were exchanged.
No.
And at some point, did she begin assaulting you?
Yes, yes.
Okay, attacking you.
Attacking me
And
from behind.
Okay, so I want you to walk the judge through that. How did it begin?
I felt severe pain around my scalp and my neck. And suddenly I was being thrown into the floor. I
So-
had sandals on, so I really lost my balance very quickly.
So when she began attacking you, was she stabbing you?
Yes,
Okay, and where was she stabbing you?
in the back of my head in the beginning, but once I was on the floor and she was on top of me, the stabbings were primarily in my neck and around my ears.
Okay, so she began stabbing you in the back of your neck and your head,
Yes,
and then she pushed you to the ground.
yes,
And once she got you to the ground, did she get on top of you?
yes.
How was she on top of you?
She was straddled me like a horse with her knees at my sides.
And she continued to stab you while she was on top of you.
Yes,
And did she ever say anything to you?
no.
What did you say? What
I
did you
asked
do?
her why she was doing this to me, and I started screaming for help. I noticed on the walls of the bathroom blood splatter, so I put my left hand on my jugular carotid and tried to finger off with my right hand.
How do you know to do that?
I was an RN.
And at some point, did your niece Dava come into the bathroom?
Yes,
Okay. And once she came into the bathroom, was the defendant still stabbing you?
she had drawn the knife up by her right ear. And it had to be a God thing because the only thing I could think of was to utter, Father, forgive her for she doesn't know what she's doing. And it was like a freeze frame. She froze in place.
Okay. And when David came to the bathroom, what happened?
Deva saw what was happening very instantaneously, took out her knife and stabbed my assailant in her back.
And once David did that, did the attack end?
On me, yes.
Did she then try to go after Deva and your husband, Frank?
Yes, she instantly got off of me and from that point on, the relief on my person was immediately taken away.
And I want to show you some pictures, Miss Turner. Now, you've looked at these pictures today, but this morning. Miss Turner, after all this happened, you had to go through a 4-hour surgery, is that right? Have you had to have follow-up treatments and surgeries since this happened?
I've had follow-up treatments for this.
What kind of treatments have you had to go through?
I've had to have an echo to make sure that the jugular had no problems as far as obstructions within. I've had a cardiovascular surgeon check me. I've had a cardiologist check me and my primary care physician to make sure my medications are proper.
And Ms. Turner, how has this affected your life? How has this changed you? How has this impacted you?
Unfortunately, I'm now an elderly person. Prior to, I was vibrant, active, socially engaging. Now I find that I'm just old.
And have you seen changes in Deva as well? Have you seen her have to struggle through this?
Absolutely.
And
yes.
your husband Frank as well?
Absolutely.
And Ms. Turner, lastly, I'd like to ask you, what would you like to see happen to Ms. Gonzalez for what she did to you?
I've prayed about this a lot, and I would sincerely pray that the Lord work in her life and that she will come in contact with somebody that will introduce her to Jesus and let her know that God loves her and can give her peace and comfort that nobody on the planet Earth can. And I would like justice to prevail.
Would you like to see her go to prison? And I know that that's a hard question, but do you feel that she is someone who should be out free in the community?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I'll pass the witness.
All right. I will tell you this, San Antonio is a nice place with nice people. I'm so sorry that your trip here ended that way. All right. Thank you for state. Any other witnesses?
Judge, may I just have one moment? I'm going to confirm with you.
Sure. All right. So just so everyone can know, I've read the police report and I've read the stipulations.
Okay.
All right. You can come forward. Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right. You're going to have to speak up.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. State your name for the record.
David Turner.
All right. State.
David, I just want to ask you a couple of questions, okay? And mainly I want to focus on how this has impacted your own mom, Ruth Turner. How have you seen, how did this change Ruth? How have you seen changes in her?
First off, she's a very religious person, and I thank God that she has deepened her faith and is so grateful for what God has done in her life. Second, she's a very hardworking woman. And after this attack, she no longer had that sort of spirit in her. And that pains me probably the most.
And has it also been hard for you to cope with the effects of this attack and what happened?
Yes. I've been ridiculed at school for being the person who stabs people. I've had my PTSD come back. I've had flashbacks. I still hear screams at night. It's hard.
Is there anything else you want to tell this court?
I don't think a person like this should be let out back in the community because we're not even from here. And for someone to do that to someone who's just coming here for family vacation shouldn't be put out in the community for her to harm other people.
Judge, what Ms. Gonzalez did to Ms. Turner, to Frank Turner, to David Turner, is horrendous. I think Ms. Gonzalez is lucky to be standing here in front of you today with only this charge, with only aggravated assault, because what she did that day on July 19th, 2022 to Beth Turner was, I believe that her intent was to kill her. She was going to, she found an easy witness, an older witness, and I think she knew that this was a person who could not defend herself and who could not attack back, and she preyed on her. She made that decision to go in there and stab her numerous times. And then she had the gall to tell the police after she was stabbed by Dava, when Dava was protecting her aunt, her grandma, that the bitch stabbed me. I believe those were some of the words that she used. And I understand that Ms. Gonzalez has mental health problems, but I think what the court has to consider is the severe threat that she poses to not only this community, but herself. And I think someone like this, where she needs to spend some time is the prison. And she's been treated and she's had treatment in the past, and she continues to exhibit this type of behavior. And I think it speaks for itself when we look at the fact that she was released from Nick's hospital on January 25th, 2019. And but a few days later, she commits an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, separate from the case that we're here for today. I think she is violent, and she has shown this court that with the fact that these are the types of offenses she continues to commit.
Right, and counsel, what do you say to the fact that the state presented a witness, a mental health expert, that she was released and she was not, and she should not have been released from the mental health hospital? It was a situation, which I've seen before, where people have mental health issues, they get treatment and they just stabilize them and then release them without medication, without proper support, and just send them back into the world because not my problem. I want to move on to the next person and we're done. Woo! Thank you. We got her out of here. So what do you respond to the defense's witness? Because that's what the defense witness said. The defense witness said that she never should have been released from the hospital. And it appears that she was released from the hospital and then immediately went out and committed this act.
My response to that, Judge, is that now we have innocent victims here in the courtroom that are victims of her behavior.
But let me ask you this. How is this any different if somebody is at a hospital for, let's say, cancer or some type of physical illness, and they just get them stabilized and say, good luck to you because your problem is too complicated. We're going to stabilize you and then we're going to send you out into the world. Let's say somebody goes to a hospital and they are bleeding or they need a heart transplant. And they say, you know what? Your case is a little bit too complicated. I know you need this heart transplant immediately, or I know you need these stitches immediately, but you know what? We're going to give you a Band-Aid because great. We've stopped the bleeding. We know you're going to end up needing stitches, but we're not going to do that. We're going to send you back out into the world. Good luck to you. and they end up bleeding because they didn't get the stitches. The problem is, Miss Gonzalez, I do feel as though Bear County and society should apologize to you. And let me just tell you why. Because it's clear from the court that you should have been at a mental hospital, but somebody dropped the ball. Somebody just wanted to do triage and send you out into the world, knowing that you should not have been sent out in the world, that you probably should have still been at the mental hospital receiving treatment. And they should apologize to the complainant in this case as well, because who knows, maybe that would not have happened to her if you were where you were supposed to be. But at the same point, I'm looking at the photos. Have you seen the photos of the injuries? Counsel, do you want to show the photos to your client? And I wanted you to see those because I wanted you to know what, and I'm sorry, counsel, this is for you as well. I wanted you to see those because I wanted you to know everything that I'm looking at and everything that I'm considering. And I take all these cases very seriously. And people don't realize sometimes how hard my job is because everybody wants something. I know what the state wants. I know what your attorney wants. I know what the complainants want. And then I have to make a decision. And part of my decision making is protecting the community. I look at your criminal history, consider any other evidence that's presented to me to make a decision, right? Now, this case would be so easy if you were found insane at the time of the offense, because if you're found insane at the time of an offense, then that basically means you don't know right from wrong. And that means, and your attorney will tell you, that means that you're not responsible because basically you don't know right from wrong. You understand? But in this case, it's not a situation of you not knowing right from wrong. All right. And I do understand mental health issues. And as a defense attorney, I had so many clients who had mental health issues, and I had so many clients who ended up being under a doctor's care for the length of the offense that they were on. I had some clients who were found insane and they were charged with murder, but they were found insane, which would mean because the range of punishment for murder is up to life in prison, they would be under care for life. But I don't have that situation here. So I don't have somebody saying that you were insane at the time of the offense. And the reason why I'm taking my time, and I try to do this with everyone who's before me, so that they will know that I listened and I heard their witnesses and I heard what was given to me. Because I never want anyone to appear before me and they assume that I'm not listening to them. Because sometimes you may see me doing 3 things at one time and people are like, oh, judge is not listening. But I do. I'm able to multitask. And so I have listened to everything. And it is a shame that you were not given the help that you needed at the time that you needed. And it was a shame that they released you. But with that being said, I don't feel comfortable granting your application for deferred adjudication. So I am going to find you guilty. According to the plea bargain agreement, it is a cap of 13 years. Does anyone wish to speak to the cap?
I do, Judge.
All right. State?
Judge, the state is fully aware of the plea bargain agreement. We made that agreement. We feel that the cap and you reaching the cap is appropriate, or that's not the offer that we would have made based on everything, based on the case itself, based on all the facts. That was the plea bargaining agreement that we made and defense agreed to. And so for that, we're going to ask the court to use its judgment, but we are asking the court to, considering everything to meet the cap.
And Judge, may I proceed, Judge?
Yes.
Judge, I'm asking you to take into consideration all of the documents that I provided to the court today, Judge. As you have recognized, my client has been sick for a very long time. And because of that and those mitigating circumstances, Judge, I'm asking for the lower end of the punishment range, Judge.
All right. Ms. Gonzalez, what do you think you deserve? What do you think would be an appropriate sentence for you?
Some medical treatment in a hospital, outpatient aid.
All right, so that ship has sailed. So you're going to be going to prison. So the state is asking for 13 years.
I want it to be getting some kind of treatment in here. If they have
Well,
treatment in here, I could take it in here.
Well, here's the thing. At the prison, they do have a mental health treatment facility there. And I'm going to put on the docket sheet that you receive and that you receive the mental health that they provide.
You know what? Then maybe I should read my letter so you understand, because I don't think I deserve to go to treatment. Perhaps you need to listen to my letter. I don't think I deserve to go to treatment, because this is what I have to say.
All right, well, just a second. This is what the court is going to do. The court is finding you guilty. The court is going to sentence you to 12 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served. There's restitution, if any, to Ruth Turner. There's to be no contact with Ruth Turner, Frank Turner, Dava Turner. I'm going to recommend that she be placed at the Texas Mental Health Unit at the prison. There's an affirmative finding of a deadly weapon.
Well, what I have to say is why I deserve mental health treatment here if they have it,
Okay.
instead of going to prison. Since 2015, I was hearing voices and I've heard screams, and I had saw flames, little images of flames, in my visions around the room in my house. And I told my parents about it and I cried because of these visions of people coming in my house. I told my mom about it and she took me to the hospital to get medical treatment. I went to several hospitals and was taking medicine for schizophrenia, seeing flames and hearing voices. But I don't believe I was myself. I'm not a murderer. According to what the pictures I saw, the stab wound was on the right side. She doesn't have stab wounds on the right side of her neck. And I saw it.
Mhm.
I stabbed her right here. She doesn't have that. And
All right, so Miss Gonzalez. All right, let me explain something to you, okay? All right. So I understand what's going on in your life. And I understand that the state hospital and those people in the medical field for mental health dropped the ball. They didn't do right by you. That is why I'm giving you 12 years in prison as opposed to the 13. What I'm telling you is at the prison, I'm going to request that you be placed in the mental health unit. And defense, I know you're aware that there's more than one mental health unit, so they'll evaluate her and see which mental health unit is appropriate for her stay. I'm going to show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Because this is a plea bargaining agreement, because I followed your plea bargaining agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. And because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. We can go off the record,